Hey gang, welcome back to the Bill Caskey Podcast. My name is Bill Caskey. I'm glad you're with me today. A couple of weeks ago, I did an episode called Are You Adrift? And in that episode, I shared some pretty intimate discussion about a time in my life when I was adrift, and I shared some gory details of it, and I've gotten some really nice notes and cards and letters and emails, all emails, not notes and cards, about it, and I appreciate all the feedback on it. If you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to do so. The essence of it was, and my suggestion at the end was, if you have someone in your life that is adrift emotionally, mentally, spiritually, careerly, and you kind of get a sense that there's something that's slightly off, they're struggling a little bit, my suggestion is to bring it up. And I gave you some thoughts about how exactly to bring it up. But something happened a week ago. And what happened was I had a friend who I had been acquainted with for years, but it wasn't until we saw each other at an event about a month ago that we decided to have coffee. And I liked this guy. His name was Blake. I liked him, and I think he liked me. And so we just got together and talked about stuff. And he was retired, 53, retired from a nice position at Reebok. Very successful, career-oriented dude, good guy, funny. Just had a really nice conversation. About a week later, he called me about something that was still hanging I made a suggestion about a healthcare alternative because he wanted to get out of the traditional healthcare market, and I had an idea for him. 3 days ago, I heard that he was found dead in his house. While I don't carry guilt around with that because I didn't know him well enough to know if he had any issues, I still feel like I probably should have known something. I probably should have sensed something going on. And forget about him for a moment. He had gone through a very bad, his spouse had died 6 years ago from a very serious disease. And I think that took a huge effect. That was very traumatic for him. He has a couple of grown kids. But again, forget about him. I guess the question I would have for me, dealing back to the episode from a couple of weeks ago, is, do we sense that someone is out of sync? And I think with the holidays coming up, I think it's a good time, especially given the year we've been through. And this, by the way, this podcast episode is not going to be about sales and marketing. I think it's about something way more important than that. But as we head into the holidays, I think it's important to remember, just notice, just be mindful that the armor that people are wearing around you, or we are wearing, is not always what's going on inside. Drug overdoses are up, suicides are up because of disruptions, and just generally, I think they've been up anyway, but the whole pandemic has not helped, obviously. But I would encourage you to just be aware, just observe some of those people around you, and can you organically and elegantly move into the conversation about, tell me about what you want for your life over the next year. Tell me where you're struggling. Tell me what's going on. What are some things that you're working on behind the scenes, or what are some things that you want to accomplish? Move it to a goal conversation or an aspirational conversation, a vision conversation. And I think as you do that, you will be able to pick up any nicks in the armor that might be there. And if you know somebody has been through hell, either in the last 9 months or in the last few years, I think it's even more important to address these questions with people. I'm not interested in taking people to therapy. I don't think that's what we want to do. I think being there as a human being, sitting across the table, and I'm not talking about Thanksgiving table, but talking to someone face-to-face, one-on-one, is a great time to ask those questions. I've never considered myself a motivational speaker or motivating in any way. I know that I'll sometimes go into a group, and just got an email a couple of days ago, actually, from a guy who said, you came in and spoke to our group 10 years ago in Santa Barbara, and we still use some of the things that you taught us. But that's rare. That's rare because most of the time a speaker comes in, a trainer comes in, if it's a one-day gig. Now, if it's an ongoing year-long thing, that's different. But if it's a one-day gig, it's hard to motivate someone. It's hard to let something sink in when you tell somebody once or you instruct or inspire them once. Sometimes it happens, but I've never thought of myself as a motivator. And I think because of that, I have probably not gone deep enough with people. When I coach people, I do. When I do one-to-one coaching, which I do a little bit of, fair amount of, I do, because that's just part of coaching. And what I realize is that when you're in a one-to-one coaching environment, you talk about stuff you don't tell anybody else. And that's the beauty of coaching. I'm not pitching coaching, by the way, because that you either want it or you don't. But it's really helpful to have another human being on the other side of the phone, the desk, face-to-face, asking you questions about your emotional and mental health, about what you want to accomplish, about roadblocks, about childhood traumas maybe that come up subconsciously for us. It's very helpful. And so that might be one way you can look at yourself over the next 6 weeks is just be mindful. You can coach people without having a formal coaching relationship with them. You can ask the right questions. You can be there to witness the dialogue or the monologue that they have. You can probe a little bit deeper to find out what they're really thinking, not just what's on the surface. Because as we know, you've got the surface us and you've got the real us. And the armor we wear around the market as sales and marketers and CEOs, the armor we wear is usually hiding something. And it's not hiding something that could cause someone to be suicidal. It's usually just hiding little things, but those little things sometimes turn into big things. And so if you're feeling adrift, find somebody to talk to. If you see people who might be adrift or you don't know and you're just asking, you are serving them big time by broaching that subject. And sometimes people don't want to talk about it right away, but they may call you back in a couple of weeks, say, hey, let's get together. I really enjoyed our conversation. Let's get together for coffee sometime. Witness that, observe that, pay attention to that. You could have some very meaningful conversations this holiday season. I hope this wasn't too much of a downer. We'll get back to talking about selling and marketing, but this hit me, and I don't think I'm alone in noticing that some people are struggling right now. So I encourage my listeners to be a light in what can be a dark world for people. And I hope you'll be able to do that. And I think we all get healthier when we ask those questions of other people as well. See you next time.